When you stand on the balcony of the Tour Magdala and look out over the Pyrenees, the air feels heavy with the weight of what might be hidden beneath your feet. Did Saunière find the gold of kings, the lost symbols of a religion, or a truth so dangerous it had to be bought with silence? The strange priest's tomb remains in the village, his eyes seemingly still guarding the secrets of the mountain. The gold may be gone, or it may be waiting for the next person to decode the inscriptions he left behind in the terrible church. The mystery of Rennes-le-Château is not merely a story of hidden gold or a lucky find by a provincial priest. It is a labyrinth of history, theology, and high-stakes intrigue that spans over 1,500 years. To understand how a man like Bérenger Saunière went from a starving clergyman to a man of unimaginable wealth, we must look deeper into the soil of the Languedoc, a region of France that has always been a sanctuary for rebels, heretics, and secrets that the rest of the world wanted buried. The Man and the Mountain. When Bérenger Saunière first climbed the winding, rocky path toward Rennes-le-Château in June 1885, he was a 33-year-old man with a reputation for being difficult. He was handsome, charismatic, and intensely stubborn. Born in the nearby village of Moncazels, he was a local boy who understood the harsh, beautiful landscape of the Aude Valley. But the parish he was assigned to was a wreck. The village sat atop a plateau, isolated and wind-battered. Its church, dedicated to Mary Magdalene, was a crumbling vestige of the 11th century, built upon foundations that went back even further, to the time of the Visigoths. The roof leaked so badly that the congregation had to use umbrellas during Mass when it rained. Saunière's initial salary was a mere 75 francs a month, barely enough to buy bread and wine. He spent his first years hunting for his own food and keeping a meticulous diary of every centime he spent. Then, in 1887, something shifted. It began with a small donation from the Countess of Chambord, a wealthy widow of the claimant to the French throne. With this money, Saunière began the most basic repairs. He had no idea that by moving a single stone, he would unravel the fabric of his own reality. The discovery of the parchments. It was during the summer of 1891. Saunière, working alongside two local laborers, was dismantling the old altar. As they lifted the heavy stone slab, they noticed that one of the two supporting pillars was hollow. Inside, hidden for centuries, were wooden tubes containing 4 scrolls of parchment. According to the accounts that survived through his housekeeper, Marie Denardneau, Saunière was visibly shaken by what he read. While 2 of the documents appeared to be genealogies, lists of names from the Merovingian era, the other 2 were Latin texts from the Gospels, but they were written in a strange, erratic hand, with extra letters inserted and some letters raised above the line. When these extra letters were pulled out and read separately, they formed messages in French. One of them, translated today, reads, "Shepherdess, no temptation. That Poussin, Tenière, hold the key. Peace 61. By the cross and this horse of God, I reach this demon guardian at midday. Blue apples." What did it mean? For a simple priest, the message was gibberish, but for the Bishop of Carcassonne, to whom Saunière immediately took the documents, it was serious enough to warrant an immediate, all-expenses-paid trip for Saunière to Paris. The Paris sojourn and the occult underground. In the late 19th century, Paris was the center of the world, and it was also the center of a massive revival in occultism and secret societies. Saunière spent 3 weeks in the city, but he didn't spend them in prayer. He was seen in the company of the elite. He met with the director of the Louvre, and he spent hours studying paintings, specifically The Shepherds of Arcadia by Nicolas Poussin. He also met Emma Calvé, the most famous opera singer of her time and a high priestess of the Parisian occult scene. Rumors persisted for years that the rugged priest and the glamorous diva began an affair. More importantly, it is believed that during this time, Saunière was initiated into secrets that the Vatican had spent centuries trying to suppress. When he returned to Rennes-le-Château, he wasn't just a priest anymore. He was a man with a mission and suddenly a bottomless bank account. The terrible church. Saunière began a total renovation of his church, and the results were nothing short of bizarre. He spent the equivalent of millions of dollars on decorations that seemed designed to tell a story through code. As you enter the church, the first thing you see is a terrifying statue of Asmodeus, the king of demons, crouching under the weight of the holy water font. In Catholic tradition, the devil is usually outside the church or being crushed by a saint. Here, he is the guardian. Above him, Saunière placed 4 angels making the sign of the cross and the inscription, "By this sign you shall conquer him." The stations of the cross, which usually follow a strict biblical narrative, were filled with anomalies. In the 14th station, which depicts Jesus being placed in the tomb, Saunière showed a full moon in the background. According to Jewish law, the body would not have been handled after the Sabbath began, and the moon indicates it was night. Some theorists argue this was Saunière's way of saying the body was being removed from the tomb, not placed in it, suggesting Jesus did not die on the cross. The Tower of the Magdala and the Villa Bethania. Saunière's spending didn't stop at the church. He built a grand estate that seemed out of place in such a tiny village. He built the Tour Magdala, a circular stone tower on the edge of the cliff, which he used as his library. He built the Villa Bethania, a mansion designed to host prestigious guests. He lived like a king. He ordered the finest wines from Bordeaux, imported exotic foods, and built a massive glass-enclosed promenade where he could walk and meditate. He also began a strange habit of digging in the village cemetery at night. The villagers complained that he was desecrating graves, and when the authorities investigated, they found that he had obliterated the inscriptions on certain tombstones, specifically that of Marie de Negre de Ables, a noblewoman who died in 1781 and whose family had been the lords of the village. It is believed her tombstone held the key to the location of the treasure. The bishop's wrath. Eventually, the church could no longer ignore the scandal. A poor priest living like a millionaire, refusing to explain his income and decorating his church with demons was a liability. In 1910, the new bishop of Carcassonne summoned Saunière to a formal trial. Saunière was accused of simony, the illegal sale of masses. While he had indeed been soliciting money for masses through the mail, the volume required to generate the wealth he spent would have meant he was saying thousands of masses a day, which was physically impossible. Saunière refused to produce his account books. He was stripped of his priestly duties, but he didn't care. He stayed in his village, supported by Marie Denardneau, and continued to live in luxury until his death.
Deep in the rugged foothills of the Pyrenees Mountains in southern France, perched on a hilltop that seems to watch the horizon with ancient, weary eyes, lies the village of Rennes-le-Château. For centuries, it was nothing more than a forgotten collection of stone houses and windswept paths. But in the late 19th century, a young priest arrived with nothing but a suitcase and a prayer. And within a few years, he was spending a fortune that would be worth millions of dollars today. He didn't win a lottery, and he didn't inherit a legacy. What he found beneath the floorboards of a crumbling church ignited a mystery that has baffled historians, treasure hunters, and conspiracy theorists for over 100 years. This is not just a legend, it is a historical puzzle that stretches from the Crusades to the secret vaults of the Vatican. The arrival of the poor priest. The year was 1885. Bérenger Saunière, a 33-year-old priest with a stubborn chin and an intensity in his eyes that unsettled his superiors, was assigned to the parish of Rennes-le-Château. At the time, it was a punishment post. The village was impoverished, remote, and the church, dedicated to Mary Magdalene, was literally falling apart. The roof leaked, the walls were weeping with dampness, and the congregation could barely afford to feed themselves, let alone support a priest. Saunière lived in a state of near starvation for his first few years. His diary entries from the time are filled with records of small debts and meager meals. However, he was a man of action. In 1887, with a small loan from the village and a donation from a wealthy widow, he began a modest renovation of the church. It was during these renovations that the impossible began to happen: the discovery in the pillar. According to local accounts and the testimony of the workmen, while Saunière was removing the heavy stone altar, he discovered that one of the two Visigothic pillars supporting it was hollow. Inside this pillar, hidden for centuries, were 4 parchment scrolls sealed in wooden tubes. 2 of these parchments allegedly contained genealogies, one dating back to 1244 and another to 1644, but it was the other 2 that changed everything. They appeared to be Latin transcriptions of passages from the New Testament, but the letters were arranged in a bizarre, staggered fashion containing hidden codes. When deciphered using a complex system of knights' moves on a chessboard, one of the messages allegedly read, "To Dagobert II, king, and to Sion belongs this treasure, and he is there dead." Saunière took these parchments to the Bishop of Carcassonne, who immediately sent him to Paris. For a simple country priest, this was an extraordinary journey. He spent weeks in the capital, rubbing shoulders with the elite of the French occult underground and high-ranking scholars. When he returned to his tiny village, he was no longer a poor man. The Great Transformation. Upon his return, the scale of renovation shifted from repair to extravagance. Saunière began spending money at a rate that defied logic. He completely remodeled the church, but not in a way any traditional Catholic would recognize. He filled it with strange, esoteric symbols that seemed more suited for a secret society than a village parish. At the entrance, he placed a terrifying statue of the demon Asmodeus, the custodian of secrets, crouching under the holy water stoup. Above the door, he inscribed the words "Terribilis est locus iste," which means, "This place is terrible." The Stations of the Cross contained deliberate errors, for example, showing the body of Christ being smuggled out of the tomb at night under a full moon. But he didn't stop at the church. Saunière built a grand estate for himself. He constructed the Villa Bethania, a luxurious mansion where he entertained high society guests from all over Europe. He built the Tour Magdala, a stunning neo-Gothic tower that served as his personal library overlooking the vast valley. He installed a promenade, expensive gardens, and a private zoo. Estimates suggest he spent the equivalent of $15 million in today's currency. When the church authorities, suspicious of his wealth, demanded to know where the money came from, Saunière simply refused to answer. He claimed the money was gifts from the faithful, but no record of such massive donations ever existed. What did he find? The mystery of Rennes-le-Château isn't just that he found money, it's the source of that wealth. There are several historical theories that carry heavy weight. 1. The gold of the Visigoths. In 410 AD, the Visigoths sacked Rome and carried away the treasure of Solomon, which included the menorah and artifacts from the Temple of Jerusalem. This treasure was lost to history in the very region where Rennes-le-Château sits. Many believe Saunière stumbled upon one of the great hoards of antiquity. 2. The lost wealth of the Cathars. In the 13th century, the Cathars, a heretical Christian sect, were besieged by the Catholic Church at the nearby fortress of Montségur. Legend says that on the night before the fortress fell, 4 Cathars escaped over the cliffs carrying a heavy treasure. This treasure vanished into the caves of the Languedoc. 3. The ransom of St. Louis. Blanche of Castile, the mother of King Louis IX, was said to have hidden a massive royal treasure in the area during a period of civil unrest. 4. The secret that shook the Vatican. The most controversial theory, the one that fueled the Da Vinci Code, is that Saunière didn't find gold, but information. Some believe he found proof that the Merovingian bloodline, the first kings of France, survived through Dagobert II, and that this bloodline represented the literal descendants of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. Under this theory, Saunière didn't find a chest of coins. He found documents so explosive that the Vatican paid him hush money for the rest of his life to keep the secret buried. The silent secret of Marie de Nardin. Through all of this, Saunière had one confidant, his housekeeper, Marie Denardin. She was his shadow, his bookkeeper, and the person who reportedly helped him dig in the village cemetery at night, moving tombstones and searching for points of interest. When Saunière died suddenly in 1917 with a stroke, he left everything to Marie. He died with no penny in his name. Everything had been registered in her name to avoid seizure by the church. For decades, Marie lived alone in the decaying Villa Bethania. When the French government issued new currency after World War II to catch tax evaders and collaborators, Marie was seen burning stacks of old high-denomination banknotes in her garden rather than explaining where they came from. To the locals who asked about the secret, she always said, "The people here walk on gold without knowing it. One day I will tell you a secret that will make you very, very rich." But she never did. In 1953, Marie suffered a stroke that left her unable to speak. She took the secret of the gold of Rennes-le-Château to her grave. The modern legacy. In the 1960s and 70s, the story caught the attention of British researchers and authors, leading to the international bestseller, The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. They linked Saunière to a secret society called the Priory of Sion. While much of that specific connection was later revealed to be a complex hoax orchestrated by a Frenchman named Pierre Plantard, the physical facts remain. Bérenger Saunière, a man with no income, spent a fortune that cannot be explained by conventional means. Today, Rennes-le-Château is a pilgrimage site for treasure hunters of the mind. The village has been dug up so many times by illegal excavators that the French government has banned all digging in the area.
The Deathbed Confession. On January 17, 1917, a date that appears repeatedly in the codes he found, Saunière suffered a sudden stroke. A priest from a neighboring village was called to hear his final confession and administer the last rites. According to legend, the priest entered Saunière's room and the door was closed. When the priest emerged a short time later, he was visibly shaken, pale, and trembling. He reportedly fell into a deep depression and refused to ever speak of what Saunière had told him. He denied Saunière the final absolution, a move almost unheard of for a fellow priest. Saunière died unsaved in the eyes of the church, taking his secret to the grave. The Secret of Marie Denardin. For the next 36 years, Marie Denardin lived in the Villa Bethania. She was the sole heir to Saunière's estate, but without his donations, she slowly ran out of money. She lived in a state of dignified poverty, but she always remained the most respected person in the village. When people asked her about the treasure, she would smile and say, "The people here walk on gold without knowing it." She promised that before she died, she would tell someone the secret. In 1946, she met a man named Noël Corbeau, who bought the estate from her on the condition that he look after her for the rest of her life. She grew fond of Corbeau and his family. In 1953, she told him, "Noël, I will tell you everything tomorrow." But that night, she suffered a massive stroke. She lingered for several days, but never regained the ability to speak. She died on January 29, 1953, and with her, the direct link to the mystery was severed. The modern quest. What is the treasure? Since Marie's death, Rennes-le-Château has become a global phenomenon. But the question remains, what did he find? 1. The material treasure. Many believe it was the gold of the Visigoths or the Temple of Solomon. The region is filled with caves and underground tunnels. In the 1960s, a team of researchers found evidence of a large metallic mass beneath the church using early sonar, but the French government blocked any excavation. 2. The royal treasure. Some historians suggest Saunière found the lost treasure of the French crown, hidden during the French Revolution by the local lords who were loyal to the monarchy. 3. The bloodline secret. This is the most famous theory. It suggests that Saunière found proof that Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene were married, and that their descendants became the Merovingian kings of France. The treasure was the documents proving this, which Saunière used to blackmail the Vatican. This theory argues that Mary Magdalene didn't just go to France, she was the Holy Grail, the Sang Grail or Sang Real, royal blood. The blue apples. The mystery of Rennes-le-Château is one that refuses to be solved. Every year on January 17th, enthusiasts gather in the church. At midday, if the sun is shining, the light passes through the stained glass windows in a specific way, casting a series of blue orbs, blue apples, onto the altar. It is a phenomenon that Saunière likely engineered himself, a final, silent clue left for those who have eyes to see. Is the treasure still there, or did Saunière spend it all? Perhaps the greatest treasure isn't the gold, but the mystery itself. The way it forces us to look at history not as a set of dry facts, but as a tapestry of secrets waiting for the right person to pull the thread. The village remains quiet today, but the Tour Magdala still stands on the cliffside, a stone sentinel watching over a valley that has seen empires rise and fall, and a secret that even time cannot erase. While the physical treasure, the gold and jewels, remains the primary focus for many, the intellectual treasure of Rennes-le-Château is perhaps even more staggering. To finish this tale, we must look at the clues Saunière left behind, the modern-day controversies that turned a village of 100 people into a global epicenter of conspiracy, and the final, haunting question: was it all the grand design or the world's most elaborate shell game? The painter and the priest, the Poussin connection. One of the most cryptic lines in the parchments found by Saunière was, "That Poussin Tenier hold the key." This referred to the 17th century French painter Nicolas Poussin and the Flemish artist David Tenier. When Saunière visited Paris, he reportedly purchased a reproduction of Poussin's famous painting, The Shepherds of Arcadia. The painting depicts 3 shepherds and a shepherdess gathered around an ancient stone tomb. On the tomb is the Latin inscription, "And in Arcadia I am," or "And in Arcadia I." For decades, researchers noticed something chilling. The mountain landscape in the background of Poussin's painting, painted 200 years before Saunière was born, bears a striking, almost identical resemblance to the horizon line of the mountains surrounding Rennes-le-Château. Even more shocking, a tomb identical to the one in the painting actually existed in a nearby field, the Ark's tomb, until it was demolished by its owner in the 1980s to stop the constant trespassing of treasure hunters. Did Poussin know about the treasure in the 1600s? Was he part of an ancient chain of keepers who passed down the location through art? Saunière certainly thought so. The horse of God and sacred geometry. As investigators dug deeper into the geography of the region, they discovered something that many American researchers have called the Versailles of the wilderness. If you plot the locations of the local mountain peaks, ancient churches, and Templar ruins on a map, they form a perfect, massive pentagram stretched across the landscape. This is the horse of God mentioned in the parchments. The theory suggests that the entire region was terraformed or selected by ancient civilizations, perhaps the Romans, the Templars, or the Visigoths, to serve as a massive landscape-scale temple. Saunière's church was merely the keyhole to a much larger vault. The Priory of Sion, hoax or hidden hand. In the 1960s, the story took a sharp turn into the world of secret societies. Documents began appearing in the National Library of France called the Dossiers Secrets. They claimed that Saunière was an agent of the Priory of Sion, a secret order founded in 1099, whose grand masters included the likes of Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, and Victor Hugo. The documents suggested the priory's purpose was to protect the Merovingian bloodline, the supposed descendants of Jesus Christ, and that Saunière was an agent of the priory. Later, a Frenchman named Pierre Plantard admitted to forging many of these documents to create a pedigree for himself. Many skeptics argued this proves the entire Rennes-le-Château mystery is a hoax. However, true believers point out a glaring problem. Plantard's hoax doesn't explain Saunière's money. Even if the Priory of Sion, as described in the 1960s, was a fabrication, the fact remains that a poor priest in 1890 found something that allowed him to spend millions and terrified the Vatican. The modern-day Forbidden Zone. Today, Rennes-le-Château is a place of tension. The village is divided between those who want to solve the mystery and those who are tired of it. The local government has officially banned all metal detectors and digging. Why? Because in the 1960s and 70s, treasure fever got so bad that people were using dynamite on the hillsides and breaking into the church at night with sledgehammers. In 2003, after the release of Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, the village was flooded with millions of tourists. The church, once a place of quiet prayer, became a site of intense scrutiny. People looked at the strange demon statue, the blue apple's light phenomenon, and the terrible inscription.
The final verdict. What remains? If you visit Rennes-le-Château today, you won't find a chest of gold, but you will find a series of questions that refuse to go away. 1. The simony argument. Skeptics say Saunière made his money by selling masses through the mail. But even at the highest rates of the time, he would have had to process over 100,000 masses to reach his level of wealth, an administrative feat impossible for one man and a housekeeper. 2. The blackmail argument. The most logical, non-supernatural explanation is that Saunière found documents in that pillar, perhaps proof of church corruption or a secret history of the local nobility, and used them to leverage a pension from the higher-ups. 3. The supernatural argument. There are those who believe Saunière found the Holy Grail itself, not a cup, but a secret so powerful it changed his soul. His refusal to accept last rites suggests he no longer believed in the Church's version of God, or perhaps he believed he had found something holier than the Pope. Conclusion. The mystery of Rennes-le-Château is the ultimate historical choose-your-own-adventure. If you are a materialist, it is a story of a clever priest who ran a high-end religious scam. If you are a romantic, it is the story of the lost gold of the Temple of Solomon. And if you are a seeker of hidden truths, it is the story of a man who stumbled upon the great secret of the Western world and chose to live and die in magnificent, wealthy silence. Bérenger Saunière died on a cold January day in 1917. As he lay in state in the Villa Bethania, local villagers reported that people came from miles away to pluck tassels from his funeral robe as holy relics. They knew he wasn't a normal priest. They knew he had touched something ancient. The treasure, whatever it was, may still be there, tucked into a fold of the Pyrenees, hidden behind a coded painting, or buried beneath the very floorboards where a young priest once knelt in poverty. As Marie Donneau famously said, the people walk on gold without knowing it. Perhaps the mystery isn't meant to be solved. Perhaps it exists to remind us that even in our modern, mapped-out world, there are still hilltops where the past refuses to stay buried.